One thing that is not very common anymore, but once we get some clarity with the estate tax law might be, is taxable gifting, where you actually gift today and incur a tax. Why would anyone want to gift today and incur a tax? You give $1 million today to a child and they invest it in the stock market. Long term, I think most people are saying the market's going up. And you give $1 million to plow into the market now, most likely that's going to be more than $1 million 5 years from now. We can get the appreciation out. But there's another point to that which most people don't even see. Let's assume we know what the taxes are. Let's assume we have clarity. And for ease of math, let's assume there's a 50% flat tax on estate tax and on gift tax. Okay? There's a 50% flat tax and you don't get any of these lifetime exclusion amounts. So what is, if I want my child, if I want my child to get $1 million and I want to leave them $1 million, how much do I have to leave them with a 50% flat tax?
$2 million.
Right, I have to leave them $2 million. If I want to give them $1 million today and then I pay the tax on that, how much is that going to cost me? 1.5 million. So it's a difference between tax inclusive and tax exclusive. So gifting today can actually have a tax savings. Now, people stopped doing taxable gifts when when there was the repeal of the estate tax. But if they get rid of the repeal and they set it at $3.5 million, I think you're going to find a lot of your wealthier clients taking a fresh look at taxable gifting. And that's something that's really coming down the pike. When you give something to a charity, that's a deduction. So if I left all of my assets to charity, I'm not going to have any estate tax at all. Most people aren't doing that, but you can start bringing in charitable components and you can mix them. You can do things where you basically give a charity maybe a life estate in assets and the remainder to your children. Or you can do the reverse, give your children a life estate in certain assets where they get the income every year, but the remainder goes to the charity. And then for estate tax purposes, the only thing included in your estate is the present value of either the stream of income or the remainder. So we can ultimately get more assets to the children. Something that is talked about a lot, used to be done a lot more, is starting to come back a little more now that people are understanding the rules a little more, are family limited partnerships or family limited liability companies. The concept there is you're trying to put assets into an entity that you can then discount and take maybe a 30% discount on. They're really not for everybody. You need to have the right sort of asset mix to do that. You should have a real business purpose. You shouldn't take liquid assets like securities and just put them in. The IRS is going to attack that. They're going to say that you don't have the real purpose behind these things. So it's not something I would do lightly. They're expensive to set up, but for the right client, they can be a very good asset or a very good technique to use. The next two I definitely want to touch on because they are fairly common, and one of them is a great tool to use right now, and one of them is a horrible tool to use right now. There's qualified personal residence trusts, known as QPERTs. Anyone ever heard of those before? Okay. The concept of a QPERT is that we take your house. I have a house. I want to give the house to my child. I can take my house. I can put it in this trust for, let's say, 20 years. 20 years from now, the remainder interest goes to my children. Well, the value of the house today is $2 million. The value of the house 20 years from now, what is $2 million? If someone's going to give you $2 million today, or $2 million 20 years from now, which would you rather have? You'd rather have it today, because you can invest it and it'll grow. So we take the present value. What is the present value of $2 million 20 years from now? It's significantly less than $2 million today. Now that value is going to be based on what? Does anyone know how to do present value calculations? Didn't know you're getting into that, did you? Interest. It's based on the interest rates. Okay? The higher the interest rate, the lower that remainder is, because the higher the interest rate, the more that money could have grown. Or basically it takes less money to grow up to that $2 million money amount. So that's the ultimate gift though. I set up a QPERT, I give my kids, let's say, $500,000 today. But it's a $2 million house. So I only use up $500,000 of my lifetime amount. That's the concept of a QPERT. The other concept, and it's kind of the reverse of this, is a grantor retained annuity trust. These are very, very common right now. Anyone ever heard of a grantor, GRAT? How's a GRAT work? This isn't exactly how it works, but I think this is a good way to think about it. It's like a loan, okay? I have $1 million. I loan it to this trust. This trust has to pay me back that $1 million over, say, 3 years, okay? It's got to pay, when I make a loan, it's got to pay me $1 million, plus it's got to pay me interest on my $1 million. It's going to give me annual payments back. There'll be an interest factor on that. So if I put $1 million in that trust, and I invested in the right next, I don't know, what's the latest stock that went through the roof? Probably nothing right now. But let's say, AOL that went through the roof. It's worth $10 million now. Or maybe it's even a startup business, which has a very, a lower value now, but, explodes through the roof. So I put $1 million in, and in 3 years it's worth $10 million. Well, that trust had to pay me my loan back, had to pay me my $1 million plus interest. Everything else, though, the remainder, goes to the kids. And you didn't use up your $13,000 amount. You didn't use up your lifetime amount. We gave $9 million tax-free to the kids. That's huge potential. Now, why are GRATs so popular right now? Because if interest rates are low, how much do I have to earn in order to have there be a remainder? If I only have a 1% interest rate, do I have to have a real successful $10 million blow up to be able to give a significant portion to my children? Nah, you really don't. You just have to pay back your $1 million plus a small amount of interest. So interest rates are very low right now. Now is the absolute perfect time to be doing GRATs. They're a very common estate planning technique. And if you have someone that is looking to give money now to their children, they should be looking into GRATs if they have this kind of wealth. But do QPERTs make sense to do right now? Absolutely right. Because if interest rates are 1% right now, well, how much is the remainder interest 20 years from now on a $2 million house? Was it $1.8 million? It's going to be, you're not getting any leverage out of that. I'd much rather wait until interest rates go up and do a 10-year QPERT. It'd be much, you'd get a much bigger kick out of it. There's a lot of clients of mine that would like to do QPERTs, but they're all on hold because of interest rates. But the GRATs, we're rolling out the GRATs. So if you've got clients that have, a lot of liquid securities, and they're looking to give assets to their children, more than just what they can easily, more than the easy $13,000. If we're looking to go even more than that, GRATs are a great way to go.